Good afternoon, sir.
Hello. Yeah, good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon.
Kanilavu, madam.
A very good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
A very good afternoon to all the participants present for the session 2. Today's chief person is Dr. Sandeep Grover, sir, who has obtained a bachelor degree in engineering, master degree in technology, and PhD in the field of quality management. He has authored about 100 papers in national and international journals and conferences. He guides research at postgraduate and doctorate levels, and his research areas include TQM, manufacturing quality, education quality, and application of MADM approaches. He is associated with different regulatory bodies for quality-related activities. He has also delivered expert lectures in various institutions in the country on the topics related to quality management in manufacturing, education quality, research and paper writing, application of graph theoretic approach in various fields, etc. He has published 29 research papers in Web of Science and 58 research papers in Scopus and 95 research papers in Google Scholar. With more than 3 decades of experience, he is currently working as Professor Mechanical Engineering at J.C. Bose University of Science and Technology, YMCA, Faridabad. Now the session is over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much for the introduction. So, a very good afternoon to all the participants. So, I will be taking a session on the Bloom's taxonomy in OBE as a part of this AICTE sponsored program. So, this would be okay. Can I share my screen? Is it visible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is what I will be talking about. As a whole, the concept of OB is very important since we are drifting from output-based education to outcome-based education. And when you talk about outcome-based education, one of the important components which favors this is the Bloom's taxonomy. So I will be trying to throw light on what is the importance of this particular in your curriculum development, in your examination system, and primarily when you go for the strategic learning processes. So this would be, this is a brief organization of the presentation. I will talk something about introduction about the outcome-based education. What is the background to this? So a very small note on what is PO, and how do you, get the outcomes with a given amount of the, say, program inputs or what you call as PEO.
Hello, excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, can you please increase volume at your end?
Okay, just a minute. Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. I think now it should be better. Now I have. Okay.
Yes, sir. It's okay, sir, now.
Okay. So this is the organization of the presentation. So I will talk about the background introductions to the OB system, how we have come from output-based education to outcome-based education. What is Bloom's taxonomy? What are the various components of Bloom's taxonomy? And how we have come to the revised model of the Bloom's taxonomy. And in that, what are the various components and comparing the two ones. Then how this Bloom's taxonomy is used in the curriculum design when you talk about the program outcomes to the course outcomes, how this is being used in the exam reforms. So how are you connecting your question papers to the Bloom's taxonomy in the outcome-based education, and how are you incorporating in your teaching methodologies about what level you have to teach when you incorporate the concept of Bloom's taxonomy in teaching learning. Finally, we will talk that what are the recommendations of various regulatory bodies in terms of the OBE and some of the resources that are available to me for the Bloom's taxonomy. Okay. Now, to start with, let us say that every program, whether it is a diploma, UG or PG program, it has got certain objectives and that we intend to achieve as outcomes. Now let us clarify at the start itself that when we use the word program, so we are talking something like say BTech in mechanical engineering or MTech in VLSI. So sometimes we call them as courses also. So the meaning of this terminology program is this. So any program, it has got certain objectives. It starts with some objectives and then you want to achieve something. So objectives are broadly the statements which describe what learner is expected to achieve as a result of instruction and tend to describe specific units of knowledge and skill. Whereas when you talk about outcomes, they are something like in future tense, and these are the broad aspects which can be in terms of the behavior, which can be in terms of the knowledge, which can be in terms of the skill, and that we intend to achieve at the end of the program. So when I talk about objectives or outcomes, we say that they are like banks of a river. So whenever you do something, you have certain set of objectives in mind that this is what you want to do and what you want to achieve, and accordingly you have something in mind where you want to reach upon. So whatever activity that you are doing in the institution during that 4-year BTech course or maybe 2-year MTech course, so whatever you are doing, primarily everything is connected to your objectives or the outcomes. What I mean to say is that activity means say apart from your say classroom teaching learning processes, whether you are going for a industrial visit or whether somebody is there to deliver you a lecture from industry, students projects, even sports activity, cultural activities. So anything that you are doing this during this process of 4 years has to be related to objectives and outcomes. So your objectives and outcomes must be so crisp, must be so clear that whatever you are doing, you are able to correlate it with your say in OB system with the objectives or the outcomes. Yeah. So over a period of time, our education system has drifted from output-based education system to the outcome-based education system. When I use the word say outcome-based, so it involves many things. Now the reason for that is since we were talking about output-based education system, so over a period of time there has been change in the outcome-based system. Can somebody tell me why there has been change? Why are we drifting from output-based to outcome-based? Somebody can throw light on this, that why are we now drifting from output-based to outcome-based? What is the need of this? I think it is better if it is more of a discussion. You all are teachers, I am also a teacher. So let us side by side discuss also some things so that it becomes useful for us also. So there are so many participants. So somebody can throw light on this, that why are we moving from output to outcome-based system? What is the need? What was wrong with the earlier system?
Sir, outcome-based is a student-centric approach where we are measuring what the students are supposed to achieve after completing the course.
Yeah, so it's good. It's a student-centric approach. Okay, I agreed. But why are we drifting? What was wrong with the earlier one? Why are we drifting from this to that? Student-centric is okay. Because this is a fundamental question. Why are we doing all these things? You are studying so good topics, but why?
May I?
Yeah, please.
I think outcome focused more on results of the students and university grades and all that, while now we are focusing on the applicability of the knowledge of the students.
Okay. Yeah, to some extent you are right.
Yeah.
See, dear colleagues, what happens is when I talk about output-based system, then I am talking only about the marks. Say if I make a statement that 75% of my students have obtained marks more than 80%, that is an output based statement. So earlier we were concerned more about the output. That means we were happy saying that my result is 100%. That's all. Now whether that 100% result has fetched some job to the students or not, we are saying our result is 90, 95, 100%, but industry is saying students are not employable. So that means there is a mismatch. Something is wrong in between. It is not only the knowledge. Of course, upgradation of the knowledge, whatever is in the current industry is required. But very important is what is actually wanted out of this. So when I say outcome based system, then I say in a broader way, I say it is not only knowledge, it is also the skill and it is also the behavior that counts. So when I say that 80% of my students have obtained required knowledge, required skill, and required communication skills or behavioral aspects, then I say that they are able to face the outside world, they are able to do something. So that is, now I am talking about outcome based system. So outcome talks of three things primarily: knowledge, skill, and the attitudes or the behavioral aspects. So earlier we were only focusing on the knowledge, only about the books. So we were not concerned whether the toppers or the distinction people that we have produced, whether they are able to work in a teamwork or not, whether they have some some knowledge about the societal effects or not, some knowledge about the environmental effects or not, some knowledge about professional ethics or not. No, we are not concerned. We are only saying that he or she is a very good student and has obtained 95% marks. So that's all. That is sufficient. So that's why now we are drifting from the output based to the outcome based system, because now we understand that it is not only this, but it is the other things that have to pay attention. Now you will ask me a question, sir, what was happening 30 years ago? There was no outcome, there was no COPO, everything was going very well. Yes, those times were different, and as in those times we were able to impart that outcome based qualities in the students in our output system only. But now there is a large increase in the quantity. Many things have developed. So maybe the number of seats and all those things are also one of the reasons for that. But at the same time, we have to see that whether we are assessing them or not. So that's why there is a need that now in the outcome based education system, we need to assess the students. Still there is lot of things to go. I am not talking in detail because that is not my topic today, but still there are a lot of things left. Now in examination system, what are you today examining? Just you are giving them an exam and they are scoring well and they are writing, and again you are giving them distinction. Are we assessing? Are we checking them based on the skill? Are we doing that type of analysis that in terms of rubrics, how much communication skill or how much coordination they have increased over a period of 5 years? No. So dear faculty members, in the NEP 2020, National Education Policy 2020, all these things will be covered now. It specifically says that now we want to make our students as a holistic students. So we need to give them understanding and knowledge, not only about the subject matter, their own subject matter, but apart from that, the other subject matters also. Apart from that, the other things that are important in life also. Those can be in terms of ethical practices or maybe in terms of the behavioral aspect. So I think we all are moving slowly towards that. But so that was what I wanted to initially say. And if I give you a little more on this, when you talk about outcome based or output based system. So when I talk in terms of students, we already talked that it's the students' grades or graduation rates that count, employment statistics, but outcome talks about the knowledge, the skill, and the behavioral aspect. Similarly, faculty background. Now, if somebody says that I have got 100 publications, Now that 100 publications is just a number. We are interested in, out of those 100 publications, what is the citation? How many of them are in Scopus? How many of them are in Web of Science? Okay. And what is your H index? What is your item index? So we are now talking about outcome-based education. We are talking about the outcome-based system. So if you apply for NBA also, there also it is being asked how many publications in SCI. If you apply to NAC also, there also it is being asked that how many are the number of publications in Scopus and SCI. So we are now, all the things are drifting towards the outcomes instead of just outputs. Okay. So having said this, the objectives that we talk about, they should be specific, they should be measurable, they should be achievable, realistic, and time bound. So it is not that we have just said that, okay, these are the 5 lines and these are my objectives. No, I should be very clear that these are not, something which I am unable to achieve. Everyone should understand that the language should be quite simple, and there should be a mechanism by which in a specific time period, say in a period of 4 years, I am able to measure them. So that's what we talk about in terms of the program outcomes, and we are going to measure, we are going to assess those program outcomes. But what are program outcomes? A very simple, beginning with end in mind. So you have started something within your mind that what actually you wanted at the end. So that is the program outcome in the future tense. So for any program in an institution, it can be engineering, science, arts, or any other institution, it is desirable to have objectives and outcomes at the various levels. It can be called by the name of PEO, or it can be called by any other name, objectives. Then department level, at program level, and for each course in the curriculum, that is for each subject, you must have something like we call as the outcomes or the course outcomes, or sometimes we also call them as the learning outcomes. Fine. So now we let us say use these words goals, objectives, and outcomes. Now, are they synonyms? No, they are not synonyms. Outcome we have already talked about, whereas goals and objectives, they are something which are helping us to achieve the outcome. Goal is something which is point oriented, whereas objective is something which is direction oriented. So if I talk it as the ultimate result, that is my goal. Goal is a single point. When you play a game of hockey or football, so when the ball passes through those poles, then you call it as a goal. Otherwise, you don't call it as a goal. So a single point, when you reach there, that is called a goal. Whereas objectives are the statements. They are the set of the statements. They are the directions. They are the multiple objectives which help you to achieve the goal. Similarly, education outcomes or the expected outcomes, they are the statements what a student will know or be able to do if she or he has learned everything in the course or session. So if you talk about program outcome, then during this period of 4 years, whatever the students have learned, so you are able to use them, the result of those program operations or activities or the effects produced by the program. So it is not only immediate effect, but it can be a later effect also that is being produced by that particular program. And then you say that, yes, these are the outcomes that student has achieved. Maybe mapped to a specific objective or maybe cumulative result of objectives. So many objectives can lead you to a single program outcome, or it can be vice versa also. But we are more interested in that those program outcomes are achieved and they are measurable. So that's why POs, mapping, so those all are required for this OB purpose. And if you take it in letter and spirit, it is not only for the purpose of MBA, but actually the first year. So that is going to have a lot of change in the overall personality of the student at the end of the final year. Okay. Now all this has a background which is in the Bloom's taxonomy. Now, before we start talking about directly about the levels and the verbs, in our education environment, broadly we are saying that there are 3 domains for our education environment or our education. One is the affective domain, one is psychomotor domain, and one is the cognitive domain. So affective domain is development in the areas dealing with emotions and attitudes. whereas psychomotor domain is learning physical or manual skills or performance of actions, and the cognitive domain, it talks about the that encompasses intellectual or thinking skills or gaining of the knowledge. So that means there are different types of institutions in all three domains. So if I talk about affective domain, those institutions, those schools, those colleges which talk about dealing in the areas with the emotions and attitudes or the behavioral aspect. So what are those type of institutions? Can you name some institution, or can you name some body wherein you talk about only talk about these things, your emotions, your behavioral aspects? Can somebody name such institution where only behavioral aspects are considered? We are not talking about your digital electronics or any of other subjects, but we talk about behavioral aspects. Can somebody give me example? What are those particular schools and colleges? Yes, please. Institution that deal with emotions, that deal with behavioral aspect. So one of the examples, okay, let me start. Then you talk about psychomotor and cognitive. Say, let me talk about an institution like a hospital. So it also deals with the behavioral aspect. Let us talk about an institution like National School of Drama. It also talks about behavioral aspect. They train you how to look happy even if you are not happy, or institution like Film Institute Pune. So those types of institutions which are talking about the behavioral aspect, or maybe something like your emotions. So those are the institutions that are working in the affective domain. Whereas those institutions, those schools which talk about the psychomotor domain, that is, what is psychomotor? What is meaning of psychomotor? Psychomotor is something like eye-hand movement. Something, an area that deals with the eye-hand movement, your body parts. So how do you control your body parts? How do you synchronize them for a particular work? That is psychomotor domain. So what are those schools and colleges, or what are those institutions that work in psychomotor domain, which control the performance of actions? Anybody can suggest me? What are those types of institutions which deal with this? Somebody can help me? Or you can write in chat box. Give me some example of psychomotor domain of the institution. Those institutions which deal with psychomotor. Come on, help me. See, this education domain is very vast.
Sir, sports.
Pardon?
Sports.
Yeah, very good, very good. Who is speaking?
Sir, this is Venkateshwar Rao, sir.
Yeah, Venkateshwar Rao, you are absolutely right. Sports is one of the typical examples of the psychomotor domain. So, Madam Uma, what do you mean by medical? When you say it is medical, what is meaning of this? Medical? Can you elaborate it further? So, as Mr. Venkateshwar said, sports is one of the very good examples when you talk about this psychomotor domain. So there you are being told how to control the body parts. Another very, very, very good examples I will give you is, when your child learns how to play tabla or how to play harmonium, when you send your children to learn how to play TT, table tennis. So all these types of things are nothing but those schools where psychomotor domain is being taught. That means being taught means you are being trained. So institutions like Sports Institute at Patiala, Punjab, or any such institution which is related to sports, or maybe music, where you are being told how to play some instruments. So those are psychomotor domain. Now we all are now working in cognitive domain. So the third domain is the cognitive domain. So all this knowledge, all these books, all these technical parts, everything, whatever we are talking about, we are all in cognitive domain. So you see that there are few institutions in affective domain, there are few in psychomotor domain, and there are many in cognitive domain. Now, don't you think there is overlapping between these three? So when I say that knowledge, now are you not talking about any knowledge in say for example psychomotor domain? Yes, yoga is also a good example. Are you not talking about any knowledge in affective domain? Yes, we are talking. So when you go to a cricket academy, and when you try to tell that how to play cricket, then you also tell that what is the size of the field, some knowledge. But yes, cognitive domain is less in psychomotor and the affective one. Similarly, vice versa. But when I talk about a holistic development, then that means some amount of affective domain should be there, some amount of psychomotor domain should be there. You also take your students to the labs or to the workshops, and also train them how to run a lathe machine, okay, or how to run a drilling machine. Something they are doing over that. So that means we are also teaching psychomotor domain, we are also teaching affective domain. But yes, majorly we are talking about the cognitive domain. So that means in each of these three domains, there is some amount of overlapping of the other domain, but that particular domain is the basic one, or where you call as a major one is that particular domain only. Fine. So now in all these three types of domains, there are different levels of learning. If I talk about say the original one, the Bloom's taxonomy. So in all these three types, there are different types of learning. So Benjamin Bloom, he gave in his book in 1956, see, the theory is so old, Taxonomy of Educational Objectives, where he talked about various levels, various verbs, and the levels are arranged from the least complex level of thinking to the most complex level of thinking. Okay, so these are the from basic level to the highest level of evaluation. So these are the levels which help us primarily to see that at what level we have to impart the teaching, at what level we have to take the assessment. So we will come to those parts also. But then let me tell you that these levels are not particular to engineering. These are not particular to medicine. They are the general levels of the teaching, which can be say maybe in your medical also, medicine also. It can be in your B.Ed college. But then we are more stressing on the cognitive domain, and these are the different levels of learning in the cognitive domain. So you will be surprised that knowledge is the lowest level of learning. Then from there we talk about the comprehension, we talk about the application, we talk about the analysis, synthesis, and finally the highest level is the evaluation. Now Bloom's taxonomy says that these are the levels to help us. So we must know that in which level we must work, in which level we must teach. When you are say designing a syllabus, then you must see that in which level you are primarily trying to frame out the syllabus, frame out the coursework, so that you have something in mind that at what level teaching has to be imparted. Similarly, when you set a question paper, you have something in mind that whether it is only basic question, very simple questions, or it is at the highest level, what type of. Now all these things are being correlated or are being defined with the help of certain verbs or the certain definitions, which say that if you talk about knowledge is the lowest level, which is the remembering of the previously learned material or the fact. So if you recall the data previously say that you learned, that is a knowledge only. Whereas comprehension is ability to grasp the meaning of knowledge being learned, understand the meaning, translate, interpolate, interpret. So these types of things are in the comprehension. Application is the ability to use learning materials in a new way. So something, whatever you have learned, how do you apply them? So I will give you example also. Analysis is ability to break material into parts so that organizational structure may be understood. So you are actually analyzing a problem, you know, like you say, analyze the problem. So then you go into that deep detail. Synthesis is ability to combine previous experiences with the new material to form a whole new structure. And finally, evaluation is ability to judge the value of the material ideas for a given purpose. So knowledge, lowest level of learning, remembering of facts. Now, do you agree with this? Is it true that knowledge is the lowest level of learning, just recalling of facts? So if I say knowledge, then what is knowledge? Knowledge is nothing but, if I say that what is the someone says that who approved. See, over a period of time, you know, those were the old things. So when they came up, so they came in the research also. It's a domain of the education domain. So in these education domains, there are various research papers available. I am also going to show one. So these all have been, you know, defined, and these all have been used, and all these have been proved also. Okay. So now if I talk about the lowest domain, this is the knowledge. If you remember, some state capitals, some country capitals, some prime ministers, that is knowledge. You ask a student of class 2, many things, most of things you're talking about knowledge only. Similarly, when say in our learnings of life also, when a child is very small, he or she, you know, just starts learning in a way, then what is the first level of say learning or say knowledge you are giving to a child? Can somebody tell? Some of you might be young parents also. So what is the you know, first teaching from your side to your child? I would use the word teaching. You know, you try to teach something.
Vocabulary,
So
sir.
what is that first? Vocabulary. What type of vocabulary? Let us start with vocabulary. What type of vocabulary?
Daily usage words.
So what is the first thing you remember? What is the first, or maybe few first things that you remember that we must tell to our child?
Mom, dad, food,
Okay.
washroom,
Okay.
such kind
Okay.
of words. Very basic words.
Very basic words. Before that, or maybe along with that, don't you tell your child that this is your nose and these are your eyes? Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Basic parts, body parts. No? And then we are so much engrossed in teaching our child that even if some of our friends say, then we start taking the test of our students, of our children. So we will ask them, now you tell him, what is this, what is that, you know, where is the sky? So what are all those things? Those are nothing, those are the knowledge. So just remembering is the initial level of learning. Now let me move ahead. So when let us go to school, then the students come to college. So let us talk directly about college. If a student comes in first year and you take him to a mechanical workshop, so what is first thing you are going to tell that student of first year in the mechanical workshop? Somebody must be there from mechanical also. So what is the first thing you tell?
Names of the equipment, sir.
Names of the equipments, names of the machines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
A student is there. He has come to your college after passing very good marks in class 12 or maybe some clearing some entrance. Then, but in his life, he has not seen what is a lathe machine. He has not seen what is a hobbing machine, what is a milling machine. This is what is very, very normal. So the first thing you tell him is the knowledge that previously recalled facts. Then you tell what are the parts of these lathe machines. You know, you will say this is headstock, this is tailstock. So now you have moved on to comprehension. So now you are also talking that what is this headstock doing, what is this tailstock doing. Okay. Then you slowly come to the application part, where all you can apply all these, you know, parts or all these machines. So what I mean to say is slowly we move on to the higher level, and then you analyze, you know, the things in a better way. When you go to the design parts, you know, you ask a question something like now the student has to design a crane hook. Oh, that is a very big job for students. So slowly and slowly we are moving to the highest level. But dear colleagues, let me tell you, it is not mandatory that we cover all the levels in a single subject or we cover all the levels in a single class. So Benjamin Bloom's, the theory says that all these say levels are correlated to certain verbs, just like a ready reckoner. So if you are using the words like define, distinguish, identify, inquire, then probably you are testing the knowledge of the student. So when you ask a question as a teacher, define quality, or define, something which you say that it is something very new to a student, then also you will ask define. So distinguish. So that means you are testing the basic knowledge. So in front of knowledge, we have got these sets of verbs. In comprehension, we have got another set of verbs: associate, describe, differentiate, discuss. And we move ahead. Application, you apply, calculate, choose, analyze, synthesis, evaluate. So in evaluate, there is a word validate. Now, can you tell me, have you ever used the word validate in your, say, question paper or in your teachings, or at what level you use the word validate? Okay, tell me. At what level you have used the word validate? This is something like highest level evaluation. Can you recall whether you use the word validate, or somebody asked you to, how do you validate your results? See, as far as my remembrance goes, we normally use this word validate when there is some PhD thesis for evaluation, or when you are taking a PhD viva, or maybe a MTech viva, or maybe something like a research project like this. So when a student has done a lot of work, maybe in MBA he or she has done some hypothesis, he has used certain software tools, but if you ask, have you validated your results? That means highest level of learning. You have developed something new, but have you tried it in the market? Have you tested it in the market? So what I mean to say is, these words help us to identify, to explain that which level of learning we are talking about. So these all will be used in our teaching learning methodology also, in our curriculum development also, and in our assessment procedures also, in our examination system also. So let us see slowly. Now we have talked about this particular domain. Okay. Now apart from that, there is an affective domain. So we are not talking on this. So there are levels of learning in affective domain also. Similarly, when you talk of psychomotor domain, there are levels of learning. Perception is the lowest level of learning. Now what is perception? When you talk about psychomotor domain, what is perception? In psychomotor, I will give you very 2 or 3 very clear set examples. When a fielder is standing at the boundary in a cricket match, he or she is able to analyze, able to perceive, able to guess that where the ball will come. So accordingly, the fielder moves its hands, isn't it? That is perception. When your child plays harmonium, or when you type something on the keyboard on a computer and you do not see towards that, then that is a perception. That means you have perceived, even when you are not seeing, that this is the QWERTY key. So that is perception. Okay. So let us talk about this again in our cognitive domain. Now this Bloom's taxonomy of education objectives, which I told you was developed by 1956 by Benjamin Bloom. It was accepted, very well accepted, in various domains. But then we have now a revised Bloom's taxonomy model. A lot of work, a lot of studies available on this. I'm going to show you, some of that material also. So this Androl and Tathvo, they modified the Bloom's taxonomy in 2001, and this is the reference that I'm quoting here. So based on that, we have a revised level of revised Bloom's taxonomy level, which are more or less same, which are more or less similar, but something they are into the practical, our system that are coming up in our education system. There also we talk from remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. So something new. So there we are talking about maximum about evaluate. Here we have mixed those categories, and now we talk about the from remember to the create. Let us see in this also. So remembering is same, something recalling from the memory of previous learned material. Understanding is explaining ideas or concept. Applying is using the information in other familiar situation. Analyzing is breaking information into part to explore understanding in relationship. Evaluating is justifying a decision. And when you generate new ideas, it is creation of new ideas, new products, or the new ways of doing things. So very, very interestingly, you will see in the assessment methodology that when you are setting up a question paper, at what level you are assessing? Are you assessing at grading level? Have you ever assessed at grading level? Or have you ever assessed at evaluating level? We are mostly assessing in the 3 or 4 parts only when you are taking this summative assessment procedure. So what is the broad purpose of taxonomy? There are different levels for different domains, as we have discussed that these levels are there, and these levels they encourage higher order thought in the students by building up from the lower level. They can also be used as a teaching tool. So we must know that what are the different teaching methodologies that we are talking about when you are using a teaching tool. Similarly, they are used as a help us to balance the assessment and evaluative questions. How? Because I know that whenever I am getting a question paper from any COE, then it is said that the question paper has to be a balanced one, and it must cover the whole syllabus. So for a balanced question paper, I must know that what are the balanced levels of learnings that a student has done from the syllabus part, and then accordingly it has to be say balanced questions, not too difficult, not too easy, but all of a combined level. It ensures all orders of thinking exercised in students learning. So when I'm saying students learning, so it is not only one learning in a single subject, it can be learning throughout the course also, throughout the program also. So depending on the type of program, different levels of learning are being imparted to the students, and we will see how they are incorporated, very well incorporated. Bloom's taxonomy levels are incorporated in the course outcomes also. Okay. And these are the major use when we talk about the Bloom's taxonomy. So design the curriculum. So when we start moving from the POs down to the COs, the program outcomes to the course outcomes. So I'm sure you might have studied all these things in this course also. The teaching methodologies and designing of the examination questions. Just 2 slides on this, because I know you must have studied them also. So program educational objectives, PUs, they are the broad statements that describe career and professional accomplishments that program is preparing graduates to achieve, and POs are the statements that describe what students are expected to know or be able to do by the time of the graduation. So POs, as I told you, they relate to different skills, behavior, knowledge, and all these things to acquire through the program. Now, when I talk about say PEOs and POs, so I am using these particular verbs because they are used in our engineering. As a guidelines from MBA, we are using this word. So I hope all of you are from engineering profession only. But anyway, if there is from some other branch also, then you can also use just the word objectives or learning outcomes. Those are the generalized words. So when you go for these developments, program outcomes, which we call them as the statements. So they are, if you talk about this procedure of your engineering education in NBA, then these are the normally given by NBA, and you only have to add up the program specific objectives, and they have come from the graduate attributes. That means those general attributes that a graduate must have. So based on that, you write down the POs, and anything specific for your particular program, then you write down the PSOs. And similarly, course outcomes are the statements that describe what student should be able to do at the end of the course. Right? Now this is quite common, slide. You must have seen it earlier also. We will start from the vision mission. We draw PEOs, and then we will go to the POs which have been derived from the GAs, that is the graduate attributes, and then for each particular subject you got, for each particular course you got the course outcomes. So that means we are very much interested in the COPO mapping. That means what type of words are to be used in the COs and what type of words are to be used in the POs. So it is not only when you write down PEOs, these are the only 3 or 5 lines. No, actually they are also helping us to assess that what type of objectives we need to have over a period of time. So what exactly we want to do, what are our targets. So those types of verbs, those types of words are being used in the PEOs also and POs also, and mandatorily by the COs. So when you talk about program outcomes, then there you say that to achieve these POs, what are the competencies that are to be attained? What particular we must do?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, what is meant by GA, sir?
GA is graduate attributes.
Okay, sir.
Graduate attributes are the general statements. What should be the abilities of a graduate? So based on that, we develop, these PUs. So I will be showing you one document also where you will have some examples also along with my reference. So for each program outcome, you have competencies to be attained, that you call as the CS. So what type of competence should be there? And then what are the indicators of that? So when you design your curriculum, or when you test your students, those indicators then they become important in terms of the assessment procedure. Say for example, now this is the slide that I have taken from exam reform policy of AICTE, which is very well covering these Bloom's taxonomy levels at various stages in assessment. Say for example, one of the POs is program outcomes is individual and the teamwork. Function effectively as an individual or as a member or as a leader in the team and in the multidisciplinary settings. Now, have you ever tested this particular PO for your student? Probably I don't know how many of you will say this. There may be some of the institutions where there are some marks for professional practice, but normally in our system we are not assessing them. So to have this individual and teamwork, that type of outcome, what should be the competency level? A student must demonstrate an ability to form a team and define a role for each member. So that is, this is what is expected. This type of competency is expected. So he or she must be able to demonstrate this ability. Yes, they are able to form a team, define a role for each member, demonstrate effective individual and team operations, communication, problem solving, conflict resolution, and leadership skills, and demonstrate success in a team-based project. So you must be saying that some of my friends must be from MBA department also. There is a role playing in MBA. One of the say methods by which they do teaching is role play. Now, what is that exactly? You give them a situation and then you tell them to discuss and give some role models to them. So are they able to demonstrate this ability? How will you come to know? You will come to know by the terms of the indicators. Recognize a variety of working and learning preferences, appreciate the value of diversity of a team. Implement the norms of practice. So are you able to do that? If yes, it is okay. If not, you are not able to do. In a project work that you give in the final year, there are 4 to 6 students under one teacher who are doing a say BTech project. Now in that BTech project, these types of abilities are being assessed, and there might be some marks also. Maybe Out of 100 marks, you might keep some, say 15, 20 marks for this. Or when the students, they go for a, say cultural program, they go for a sports activity, then this type of competency, it comes out. And then you are able to assess with the help of certain indicators that whether the students are doing this or not. Demonstrate effective individual and team operations. So they need to demonstrate effective communication, problem solving, conflict resolution, leadership. So treat other members respectfully. So this is what something happens when the placement companies, they come for group discussion, and then they find out, they try to find out these things from the students through the group discussion itself. So what I mean to say is that these types of activities are to be incorporated at various levels so that assessment can be done for these particular processes. Fine. Similarly, role of Bloom's taxonomy in course outcome is, very well known to all of us. I hope you all know that how do you, formulate these course outcomes. I got 3-4 examples for you. So course outcomes are nothing but they are the statements which describe what students are expected to know and be able to do at the end of each course. So at the end of the course, what are the skills they must have? What is the knowledge they must have? What is the behavior they must have? So that is something which you are trying to find out from the course. Now, the importance of Bloom's taxonomy here is something like, say for example, there is a course, say this is a course on one of the subjects. So when you talk about such courses, these are very conventional in our system that we write down certain chapters, and then from these chapters you write certain materials, what is to be taught, what you call them as a course content, and at the end you got certain reference books with you, and this is something a best practice that we start. You also give them useful web links. Now this is the course available to you. So the best practice is when the students come to the class in a semester, in the very first lecture, normally you give introduction to the course, not to the subject. So you must tell them what are the outcomes of this course. At the end of this course, what they will be able to learn out of this course. Okay. And that is to be formulated in such a systematic way by a teacher that the whole syllabus, what student is going to learn at the end of this course, is covered within this 5-6 lines. That means these 5-6 lines, which you call them as course outcomes, they must have everything of the syllabus in this, and vice versa. Everything what is this must be in the syllabus, and everything what is there in the syllabus must be covered here also. So you should not leave anything. So now, what are the few important points when you write down the course outcomes? Number first is the course outcomes are normally around 5, 6 or maybe like that in number, not 15 course outcomes or not just 2 course outcomes. Number one. Secondly, number of course outcomes are not necessarily equal to number of chapters. They can be more also, they can be less also. Thirdly, very important that we are talking in this particular lecture, that each course outcome must contain a verb from the level of the Bloom's taxonomy that would help us to understand that what type of learning and what type of teaching would be there. So all these highlighted words you see, illustrate, classify, correlate, analyze, deduce, describe, analyze, they all are primarily the action verbs from the Bloom's taxonomy, which help you to know these particular levels of learning. So that we will see in the exam part also. So this is how Bloom's taxonomy is used in course outcome. Similarly, this is an example of a course on electromagnetic engineering. So here also you see compute, calculate, apply. So I am sure that whatever course outcomes people have been using since the institute is NB accredited. So I am sure that all these types of verbs, all these types of words you are quite familiar with. Okay. And it is something I thought there might be some people from MB also. So there also you have these course outcomes here all. Understand, demonstrate, exhibit, understand, analyze. These types of words are being used. Why only these words? Why only these courses? even when the students go for internship or in-plant training, then also course outcomes are there. Wherever there are credits, even if the credits are not there, wherever there is a coursework, that course has to give certain course outcomes. That is at the end of the course. So when a student go to industry for 2 months for training, then he or she, they get familiarized with various technological trends, approaches, and applications. They go to industry and they find out that these are the latest technologies that are being used, that are being handled in the industry. Demonstrate understanding of relevant application-oriented subject in a better perspective. Something students have learned in, say, second year, or in the third year. So when they go for industry training final year, then they recall, oh, this subject, this is something that is studied there. So that means that applicability part is coming over here, and they are able to correlate that. Describe scope, functions, and job responsibilities in various departments of an organization. So when a student goes to industry, then these things he is not aware of, he or she, and when they go to industry, they come to know about the various departments, various functions that are there in the conventional one that are in the industry. Get awareness and exposure to the industrial work environment and work upon industrial project in a team. So all these things are expected when a student goes to industrial training and when he comes back. So how many of us are assessing their performance in terms of these rubrics, in terms of this particular knowledge? We normally tell them, okay, you have come from in-plant training, submit your report. So then something here and there, he or she will submit training report, you will take a viva, and that's all. But actually he has learned something which we might or we might not assess. So those levels are to be understood here, that what type of level of learning has been done in a project that he or she might have undertaken in an industry. Okay. Apart from that, these Bloom's taxonomy levels, they help in alignment of assessment questions with the course learning environment. So whenever you are going in for the question paper, that we're going to see in the next few slides. So their alignment has to be there with the course outcomes. So you cannot ask a question which is not related to course outcomes. That means it is out of syllabus. So this is one check. Similarly, whether all learning outcomes are tested. Sometimes some learning outcomes are over tested at the expense of others which may not be tested at all. So that's what we were talking some time ago earlier, that we are testing only a limited amount of learning outcomes. We are not testing all. We are doing over testing in some of the say learning outcomes in context of knowledge only, but we are not testing the other ones. So this is one of the reforms that has to be there. Of course, we are going towards that. Overall weightage in assessment to each Bloom's level of learning. So when you say that there is a question and that relates to this course outcome and this Bloom's level learning, then overall you can find out that in this whole question paper, what is the percentage of each CO being asked and what is the level of the learning, so that you are able to say that yes, now this is a balanced question paper. Assessment methods used to adequately assess the content and the desired learning outcomes. So we are more talking about sometimes of a summative assessment than of a continuous formative assessment. But yes, if it is something like a continuous assessment, then more of the Bloom's level can be assessed in terms of the course outcome than only going for a summative assessment. Right. So let me give you some more into the testing of this. So when you talk about these learning levels, so if I talk about the first 4 levels, remembering, understanding, applying, and analyzing. So that probably I am assessing by something like a continuous internal examination or maybe semester end examination. So these are the major parts that I'm assessing. Whereas something like creating, something like evaluating, that I'm testing with the help of the maybe the students' projects, their minor or mini projects or some capstone projects. So all these types of things are basically also help us to know that what level of learning is to be assessed how. Of course, with the changing reforms in the evaluation system, maybe that by the time of these formative assessments come into picture holistically, we are able to assess different levels here also. Apart from that, various competitions, say for example that you talk about things like there is some design competition, or maybe a hackathon by AICTE. Many students and teachers participate in that. What level you are assessing there? Are you assessing remembering? No, you are assessing the highest levels. You are asking to develop something. There is a institution innovation council that must be there in your college also by MHRD. So something, some ways or means by which you are giving your students a chance to let their learning abilities come out, or otherwise what will happen? Nothing. They will come, they will remember something, they will mug up some books, they will get 95% marks and they will go away. So unless these types of ability of a high level in the Bloom's taxonomy are assessed, I think you are not making them a holistic, holistic education is not being provided for holistic citizens. Because when we talk about learning outcomes, then you talk about that all these levels of learning must be assessed at various levels. And when they are assessed, the skills, there is a honing of the skills. Otherwise, those skills go away. So that's what our new education policy also says, that they are giving more stress, more systematic, in the school level, right from the at the preschool level, right from the age of 3. Earlier it was from age of 5. Why? Because they say that when you are honing a thing or when you are sharpening a thing, so that is the age when the systematic things have to be provided. So this part is also actually covered many places directly or indirectly in your NAP 2020 also. Okay. So this is an example of a question paper, and there are many such examples. So just what I wanted to convey you here is, so in a idealistic situation, when you prepare a question paper, then along with the marks, you also write down the course outcomes, the CO, that this particular question or say part of this question is related to which CO, and then what level of Bloom's taxonomy is being highlighted over here, is connected over here, and then this particular CO is mapping to which particular PO. So maybe you don't do all things together in a single one, but yes, the mapping of the course outcomes is very, very important. If you are a tier 1 college, then when you assess your course outcomes, program outcomes, and so then this is important, and also the level of the Bloom's taxonomy. Similarly, when you go for, so this slide I have taken from the reference that I have given you earlier. So when you go for your teaching strategies, so there also your Bloom's taxonomy levels, they are being used. So for example, when you talk about knowing or remembering, so you use these types of words that we already talked about: find, label, list. Now what are the teaching strategies? General lectures, maybe video lectures, maybe illustrations, examples, or visuals. Slowly and slowly you find your teaching strategies are going to change. When you come to applying, you use role play. So that means in first class, you are just giving lecture. In first 2-3 classes, when you're talking about the subject, the basic things, then you are just giving a simple lecture. So in that case, what is happening? Nothing. You are just telling the students the knowledge that this is the context and these are the parts, and this is a methodology. But when you go for the higher level, when you go for analyzing, then it can be something like a discussion, a problem solving session, or simulation exercises can be there when you're going for synthesizing or say evaluating. And similarly, there can be some roles that students have to play as a team of a say product design and development. or maybe some critical analysis, or maybe some simulations. Now, depending upon what type of knowledge, now how do you know that what type of knowledge? That you will know from the content, from the course. So what is the course structure? Because as I told you, that in the course outcome, it is not mandatory that all these levels are covered. So whatever levels are covered, accordingly you have to move. See, if you go to a specialized training, when you go to specialized training, then definitely it is expected that your first two levels are already covered. You have you know everything about the basic things, you remember the things, and you also understand the various parts of that. But then you start your teaching level from this. So what I mean to say is, as a teacher, some of you might be very, very experienced, and you do not look into these slides that when do we teach. But yes, definitely at the back of the mind, all these things are embedded there. So now when we are coming for all these things for the new teachers that are coming up, so we are also giving them formal programs, formal courses. So I was just attending one of the modules on a national initiative on technical teachers training. Yeah. So it is mandatory now for all the teachers who have less than 5-year experience. They have to go through those 8 modules. So all these basic things are covered there also. Okay. So this is something, what I am going to tell you, that how Bloom's taxonomy is covered in regulatory body recommendation. But because I have to show you some files and folders in this. So before I get into this, please let us have a discussion. Please tell me if there are any questions in your mind when we talk about Bloom's taxonomy level in the assessment, when we talk about Bloom's taxonomy in your design of the curriculum, or maybe in the teaching learning. So let us have a discussion on. I see some question there in the graduate attributes. Yeah, this we already done.
Sir, is it audible, sir, please?
Yeah, please ask.
This is Kumar, sir.
Sir, I am unable to hear. Your voice is not clear. Somebody would help me.
Is it audible now, please? Is it audible, sir?
Little better.
No, is it okay, sir? Clear?
Yeah, it is better. Ask me.
Sir, in Bloom's level, in mapping level, how many COs should be there for a syllabus, for a course? Hello?
I am not able to hear you clearly, but I think you asked me how many COs should be there.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, as we go by our regulatory bodies, the answer would be different.
Yes,
If say for example, if I talk about NBA, okay, then the number of COs which are recommended by NBA, they are 4 to 6 in number.
Okay.
4 to 6, 4, 5 or 6, or maybe something around 5, 6, 7 in that figure.
Yes.
But when I am going to show you from my files and folders, then you will find that UGC has also given a structure wherein those numbers are little higher. Okay. So the purpose is we must be able to tell our students what they are going to learn at the end of the course. But yes, when we are going by this regulatory body, then some frameworks has been given by UGC, some have been given by AICTE also. So my answer to your question would be it is 5 or 6.
5 or 6. Then
Yeah.
is it should be right in terms of sequence level, that is level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6, or the chapter wise CO?
See, both my answer to your question will be both ways. See, when as a teacher, when you are designing a syllabus, so you do not jump to the highest level first. You first write down the introductory chapter, isn't it?
Yes.
And then you move on to little higher level. then maybe some problems and then maybe something else. So same is the course case with the course outcomes also. When you start with something like in relevant to the syllabus, something at the lower level, then little you move to higher level or maybe you stay stable over there. But yes, you start from the lower level.
That
So
means
right, you start from the lower
it
level.
is not right that each chapter should write CO with a higher level.
Yeah. It is
should
not
go
mandatory.
it should go into knowledge level, then it should go for application level, then it should go for analysis level, then it goes for estimate level.
Yeah. Normally it happens like that only. And as I told you, it is not mandatory that the number of COs, they should be equal to the number of chapters. They can be different also.
Different. And one more question, sir. For me, I'm belongs to electrical engineering professor in the Jainika Control Department, sir, Tirupati. So, I do around 3-4 subjects as a syllabus. But because we are autonomous, we are going to find syllabus for every 3 years once. What is happening when we reframe the syllabus in such a way that the unit 1 may have higher level because of the prerequisites of the previous course. In that case, can we write higher level CO at the starting?
See, when you compare the levels in a particular course,
Sir.
the levels are compared within the syllabus, not with other syllabus. Number one.
Okay.
So when you start from the third level, then you write on the third level first.
Okay.
So it is expected that when you start from the third level, then the whole syllabus will be either of the third level or at the fourth level. It is expected. So this is what normally happens. Conventionally this only happens.
But only thing is that everybody is thinking we have studied requisites, no need to again reveal that, and everybody start writing their COs.
No, sir. Prerequisites are there. Prerequisites are there. Maybe that the prerequisite for a particular course is that you have understood all that course.
Yes.
And then when you write down again this based on the prerequisite, then you are starting at a level which is a knowledge in this particular syllabus.
No particular course, particular subject.
Yeah, for that particular course only.
Because what our team is thinking that we have studied already prerequisites. They are thinking that is understanding and remembering. So we are straight away applying to the network. So they are writing CO from the third level and fourth level, especially it comes to courses in third year, second semester, fourth year, first semester. So in that scenario, I asked this question. Third year, second semester, fourth year, first semester, it is a bit higher level. But the curriculum which they are going to learn, that is entry level only, knowledge level only. So that is what which we have to judge it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Any other point of discussion on this? Anything you can ask me related to outcome-based education? Anything, maybe CO, PO, connection there, vision, mission, whatever you want to ask, please ask me.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I have a question. Is there, being an autonomous institution, is there any restriction that you should have this much percentage of apply questions or this much percentage of understand and so on? Is there any guidelines for that, sir?
No. They are not guidelines. Any guidelines are not there for that. Getting autonomy is something else. You can be affiliated college or autonomous college or a university, and sometimes the course structure remains the same. So it is not at all depending on what is the status of your college. It only depends on what is the level of the course. Say for example, when you are going for a particular BTech course, say BTech in EC, then more or less the same or the similar things every one of us is teaching. It is only the level in the teaching strategies that we take them to the higher level. So sometimes maybe due to any of the reasons, we are only telling them the basic things and we are not going to the application part. So syllabus is in general, but then you have to see that up to which level you can go in the application part. You can show the video lectures. You can, take them to industry. So those application part, it all depends upon. Autonomous means you have only got liberty to design your own syllabus, and something like that. It does not have anything to do with that you have to go only up to this level.
Thank you, sir. So I have another question, sir. Suppose in my course outcome, I have the action verb as analyze various mechanisms of something. Can I ask a question in my SAE question paper or CAE question paper in the lower levels if the analysis is given in the CO for that particular module, sir?
See, when analysis is given, okay, then analysis does not jump. You must be teaching something at lower level also.
Okay, sir.
If you say if the syllabus covers analyze a mechanism, so but then before analyzing mechanism, you must understand a mechanism. Then only you can analyze it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now when you are asking a question in the question paper, as a teacher, you might be asked that, okay, now set a question paper wherein there are 5 questions or maybe 10 questions of 2 marks only. Now in a question of 2 marks, you would preferably like to ask a question which is related to understanding level, or maybe at a little lower level. So
Yes.
it's all a practical thing that if analysis of mechanisms is given in the syllabus, it is not necessary, it is not mandatory that you will ask a question also of a higher level. Question can be of a lower level also, because for understanding the analysis, you might have to teach from the lowest level and then go to the highest level. Teaching
Okay, sir.
strategy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. So any other question? Okay. So let me show you few more slides before I end up and we again discuss something. Now what I have to show is that this Bloom's taxonomy in OBE.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I have one question, sir. Actually, a couple of questions. Number one, sir, why do we give minimum of 4 options in multiple choice questions? I've heard in one lecture of someone else telling that it is a tricky thing of giving 4 questions, 4 options in the multiple choice. May I know the reason, sir?
No, see the reasons of this is more of a psychological than
Sir,
of a technical.
the same thing, sir. It comes under psychomotor domain. May I know the reason, sir?
No, it's not psychomotor domain. It's a psychology I am saying.
Okay, sir.
Psychomotor domain is something different. Psychomotor is talking about your eye hand movement.
Yes, sir.
Psychology is something, you are giving an option, more options to the student, but at the same time you are also ensuring yourself, that he gives answers only when he or she understands it. If you give only 2 options, say when you're talking about true or false, then there is a 50% probability that he gets right answer, whatever he takes. Here the probability is getting lower and lower. So if there are 4 choices, there is only 1/4 of a probability that even without knowing anything, if he or she gives one answer, then probability is less. So that means you are giving a lower probability to a student that even if he does not know how much he or she should score. I think this level has been just set up as a 4, or it can be more also, it can be little less also. Less is already there when you ask a question of true or false. So that means it is something like just a two options are there. It is as good as saying that.
Sir,
Okay.
one more question,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, please.
I don't know if I can ask you in this forum or not. The thing is that if I use any verb using explain, define, describe, define, such kind of words, where the question is not ending with a question mark. Yes, sir?
Okay.
And we call that question paper. I don't understand this. Actually, we are asking them to do some task. Yes, no, sir. It is not questioning actually. It is asking them to do some task.
Yeah, that's it. Doing a task also is also asking them to do something, no?
Yes, sir. Then do we, as we have seen many updations and we have seen many revisions, in future can we omit the word question paper and find out something else?
There can be ways and means when you don't use active voice, you use a passive voice. In that case, how do you prove that? It is something like saying that when you are asking that how does it happen, or explain.
Sir, questioning means can you do this one? What is this? Why? What? Why? When?
Yeah,
How? Whom?
I
These are
understand.
questioning words. Or can is a
I-
questioning word.
I understand.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Without this,
Where,
we are not
wherever, yeah, wherever there is a question mark, that is a question you mean to say that.
Sir, then we, if I don't use any question in the paper, then it is not a question paper.
But then giving a task is also a something you are going to asking them to do. Giving a task also, when you use the word as elaborate, explain, or maybe something like that. You are asking them to do something, and you are assessing them.
Yes, sir. Then we can call that as an assessment paper, not a question paper, really. Yes.
Yeah, that is assessment. You are right. That is assessment. So these are. That's why we call them as a formally as a summative assessment or a formative assessment.
If see, I will be happy, sir, if a professor's IQ can spread such kind of a points in summits. Some regulations might come, sir. This is what my intention, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
But
Thank you.
how will that happen?
How will? I don't know.
See
Sir.
the part. See the. No, it's a good point of discussion.
Sir.
Because what I understand is whenever you are asking question as a question paper,
Sir.
so it is more of an assessment.
Yes, sir.
So when you are assessing somebody, so then you can assessing without asking questions also, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So when you go for an interview, the experts, they don't ask you anything. So maybe something like a body language also.
Yes, sir.
So yes, you are right. I think it is more of assessment than of a question.
Yes, sir.
You are assessing. Okay.
Sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Good. So yeah, what I wanted to say in this is Bloom's taxonomy in OBE regulatory body recommendations. So different regulatory bodies and accreditation agencies, they include outcome-based education concept, which further includes the Bloom's taxonomy levels. Now we know that our regulatory body of engineering, AICTE, it includes course outcomes in the model curriculum. So that came up in I think 2018. You got model curriculum, and in that model curriculum, very well the course outcomes of many of the courses are given, and also the exam reform policy, it very well covers the Bloom's taxonomy level. So what I mean to say is that Bloom's taxonomy system, or the OB system, is very much there in the AICTE. Now similarly, I don't know how many of you are related to this UGC courses. UGC has also come up with a learning outcome based curriculum framework, LOCF. So for many programs, they have given recommendations. Say for example, they have given a recommendation of BA social work. They gave a recommendation for a BSc, say chemistry, or maybe law courses, or maybe Sanskrit, or maybe mass communication. So for all these many courses, they have recommended a booklet wherein the whole concept of learning outcomes has been explained in relation to that particular say paper or that particular program. So what should be the objectives, what should be the learning outcomes, how the mapping is there with the courses and the POs, and how course outcomes are there for each course. So if you happen to see these different booklets, they are very beautiful, and the whole concept has now been embedded in this system. So it's not only AICTE but UGC also going for that. Okay. So apart from that, National Medical Commission, normally we don't go out of our own domain, but if you just enter in their domain for the medical courses, for MBBS courses, you will see that there is a competence-based curriculum. It covers Bloom's taxonomy, action verbs, and levels of competency. So all these things are very beautifully given in these MBBS courses. So what I mean to say is these levels of learning are also embedded in there. Similarly, PCI Pharmacy Council has recommended all this in the regulations, and it is very well covered in the NAC accreditation also. So our regulatory bodies accreditation, NB and the NAC, both are covering this outcome-based system, the Bloom's taxonomy system. Rather, the very first question of NAAC SSR relates to this COPO outcome-based system, and also there are 2-3 more particular questions which talk about the say course outcomes, program outcome, their assessment and attainment levels. And NBA, you all know, you are talking about this. So NBA, you all must be knowing that how we have entered into Washington Accord and how this whole NBA system is outcome-based accreditation. So we are talking about the assessment and the attainment methodology in that particular different domain. Okay. So now let me show you some of the resource materials that I have with me. Okay. So this I need not show you. This all you are very well aware. So how they're all included in this. But yes, let me show you that particular part. Sorry. Yeah, so this is one document that if you have not seen, please go through this document. So this is the AICTE exam reforms policy. Okay, so this very beautifully talks about this whole concept of Bloom's taxonomy, and a lot of examples. I have shown you 1 or 2 examples. So I am including this in the references also. So this is something. Let me show you. Yeah, this is what I have shown you. Okay, so likewise, some sample question papers are given at the end, so that I think you should be able to see even the rubrics are given. So I think this is one of the resource materials. If you are not having this, please get it. And still, if you are not getting it, please ask me. Okay. Then you have what I wanted to show you was something from the UGC part. Okay. Yeah, this one. So here, as an example, I am going to show you only 1 or 2. So for example, this is for the learning outcome based curriculum framework for BSc chemistry program. So a template is given for that by UGC. So you see learning outcome based curriculum framework, program learning outcomes, course learning outcomes. So list of courses, everything is given. So let me focus on any one page on this. So these are the program learning outcomes. For that, let me come to this. Yeah. So these are the various courses that they have given. Okay. And also, if I can find out that page. So these are attributes of a chemistry graduate. So somebody was asking me what are graduate attributes. So for any particular program, you have a list of graduate attributes. So they talk about core competency, communication, critical thinking, problem solving, and all these things. And then these are different types of courses. I could have marked the pages, I think. Yeah. So these are some of the learning outcomes for this inorganic chemistry part 1. So on the completion of this course, student will be able to understand. So understand is one of the words that they have written in the starting itself, and then they go for this whole structure. Okay. So similarly, you can talk about many more things over here, and not going into again some easy part. Let me show you something very interesting. Yeah, this is the curriculum of MBBS, Medical Council of India, competency-based undergraduate curriculum for Indian medical graduates. So this, see, we were talking about those competency-based curriculum. So they are very much a part of your medicine, this type of teaching also, medical teaching also, not only in engineering and this. So all these things have been, very well covered in this. So if I rather talk in little more detail, here you are given all these in terms the competency table, all these in terms of the topics also. So what are the competencies required in this particular thing, and what should be the level? So when you talk about the different level of competency, say they talk about these types of competency: knows how, skill, show how, perform independently. So depending on what is the type of the topic, so these types of levels are to be given. So if you are interested, you can just go through them. So these are the levels that they have given. Okay. And how much time left here? Time is there. So then I have got certain resources which, if you want to do some future studies or you are interested in this area, then you can take down these also. So this is the main reference that I was talking about. So this is a revision of the Bloom's taxonomy of education objectives. So this is a whole PDF part that I've been talking about. So it talks, see how much detail it talks. It says that if you require knowledge in all the 6 stages, like Madam was asking me a question about the mechanism. So I told her that in mechanism also there is something which you must know before you enter into the mechanism evaluation. So this is same thing. It says that even in this dimensions of all these things, then what is the knowledge dimension you require? Is it the factual knowledge, conceptual knowledge, procedural knowledge, or it is a something like a metacognitive knowledge? So going into all these details is really a part of a total different study, but still. So likewise, there are some more resources available in me. This I told you. Yeah. So if you want, I can share these resources with you. But now the time has come, that if you joined as a young teacher, then you cannot say that I am interested only in my domain knowledge. Rather, all these things are very much a part of now our system itself. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so that's it, presentation from my side. So if there are any questions, you can contact me or you can ask me for any resources, or let us have a round of question answers. So my email ID is there in front of you.
Any queries? Please ask now.
Are there any questions in chat box? Okay, thank you so much. Okay. So thank you so much. It was nice interacting with this online system has at least done this thing. We can connect to any part of the country. Otherwise,
Yes, sir.
we would not got in touch. No, otherwise we would not got in touch for this.
Thank you so much, sir. On behalf of Philamal Institute of Technology and Department of Computer Science, and as a program coordinator, I'm expressing my wholehearted thanks to you, sir. Thank you so much. It was very, very, very valuable session. Thank you so much for the session, sir. Participants, any queries, please ask now. Or if you wish to tell your oral feedback, please unmute yourself and you can tell now.
So anyway, so thank you so much, dear colleagues. Nice to get in touch with you, and there were a lot of questions, very good questions. So rather, it was a learning experience for me too. Okay, and wish you all the best.
Experience for us, sir. Very nice, presentation. Overwhelming about Bloom's taxonomy. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, and namaskar to all of you. Namaskar.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Can I leave now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can leave.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. This is Venkateshwara, the participant.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.